While Sean Diddy Combs remains detained without bail, Mike Jeffries has managed to secure his freedom with a $10 million bond.
Former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch has pleaded not guilty to more than a dozen criminal charges in just the last few hours related to allegations that he ran an international sex trafficking. That's Mike Jeffries leaving court today out on $10 million bond. His employee, James Jacobson, pleaded not guilty a little earlier. Make that a little later today as well.
We're here today to announce the arrest and charging of 3 defendants. Former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, Michael Jeffries, Matthew Smith, and James Jacobson on charges of sex trafficking and engaging in interstate.
The former CEO of clothing retailer Abercrombie & Fitch has been arrested on federal sex trafficking and interstate prostitution charges. Mike Jeffries, his partner, and a third associate are accused of recruiting young men under the guise of modeling opportunities and coercing them to perform sex acts.
The defendants allegedly preyed on the hopes and dreams of their victims by exploiting and silencing them to fulfill their own desires with insidious secret intentions.
Especially as the names start coming out to come forward. We've seen it in the cases like Diddy. We've seen it in the cases of Jeffrey Epstein, R. Kelly. And again, the key messaging from prosecutors and law enforcement right now is, again, you have 15 alleged victims in this current indictment.
At the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television. Oh, apparently not. Everything ain't for everybody.
The fashion world has been rocked by an unexpected revelation. Mike Jeffries, the former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, and his partner, Matthew Smith, have been arrested on federal charges eerily similar to those Sean Diddy Combs is currently facing. Adding fuel to the fire are persistent rumors that Diddy may have handed over a list of powerful names to federal authorities as part of a bid to protect himself. While many dismiss this as speculation, the timing of these high-profile arrests has left people reconsidering. Few anticipated that one of the first figures to face charges would be Jeffries, a dominant force in the fashion industry. Jeffries and Smith, along with an alleged middleman James Jacobson, are now facing federal charges for running an underground operation involving activities too disturbing to describe outright. With Diddy also indicted on remarkably similar allegations, the parallels are hard to ignore. Coincidence? Perhaps. Or this could be the beginning of a broader investigation that may implicate more influential figures across industries. Let's take a closer look at what this could mean. Federal authorities have leveled serious accusations against Mike Jeffries, Matthew Smith, and their associate James Jacobson, alleging they used manipulation, fraud, and coercion to exploit young male models under the guise of legitimate modeling opportunities. According to sources, Jeffries hosted these disturbing gatherings at his New York mansion, luring attendees with promises of career-defining gigs, only for them to encounter a darker reality of exploitation. While Sean Diddy Combs' infamous freak-off parties have long drawn public attention, these allegations suggest the fashion industry harbored its own sinister version of such exploitative, substance-fueled events. The FBI's investigation into Jeffries and his associates began last year, following a shocking BBC expose accusing Jeffries and Smith of exploiting young men at exclusive gatherings held at their New York properties and high-end hotels around the world. Initially, investigators struggled to gather sufficient evidence to proceed with charges. That was until an insider tip provided the missing pieces needed to build their case. And now, speculation is swirling that the tip may have come from none other than Diddy himself, a revelation that, if true, could explain the timing and magnitude of these arrests. Breon Peace, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, delivered a searing breakdown of the charges against Mike Jeffries, revealing a disturbing and calculated operation.
So here's what's alleged in the indictment. But while Jeffries was the CEO of one of the most recognizable clothing retailers in the world, he was using his power, his wealth, and his influence to traffic men for his own pleasure and that of his romantic partner, Matthew Smith.
According to Peace, Jeffries orchestrated a high-level scheme involving a network of recruiters, with James Jacobson acting as the central middleman, to handpick young men for Jeffries and his partner Matthew Smith. Leveraging his position as the influential CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, Jeffries allegedly enticed victims with promises of life-changing opportunities, only to exploit them for his and Smith's personal gratification. Peace described the operation as one rooted in power, privilege, and a shock use of dominance.
So here's what's alleged in the indictment. Jeffries and Smith employed James Jacobson to act as a recruiter to find men. Jacobson engaged in, quote, tryouts with men across the world where he would typically pay them to engage in acts with him. Following the tryouts with Jacobson, Smith would often then personally approve whether the men who were selected would meet Jeffries and Smith. The defendants would fly the selected men to Jeffries and Smith's homes in the Hamptons in New York City, or to hotels around the world in such places as England, France, Italy, Morocco, and St. Bart's, for the purpose of attending events to engage in commercial. But beyond simply hiring men for Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson used force, fraud, and coercion to traffic those men for their own gratification.
According to Peace, Jeffries orchestrated a high-level scheme involving a network of recruiters, with James Jacobson acting as the central middleman, to handpick young men for Jeffries and his partner Matthew Smith. Leveraging his position as the influential CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, Jeffries allegedly enticed victims with promises of life-changing opportunities, only to exploit them for his and Smith's personal gratification. Peace described the operation as one rooted in power, privilege, and a shocking abuse of dominance. Jacobson's role allegedly went far beyond recruitment. According to authorities, he conducted private tryouts with aspiring male models, testing their willingness to participate in certain activities in exchange for payment. Once Jeffries and Smith gave their approval, the men were flown to exclusive New York residences or luxury hotels worldwide under the guise of professional modeling opportunities. Many of the victims, prosecutors say, were entirely unaware of what awaited them. Believing they were on the cusp of prestigious Abercrombie & Fitch gigs, they instead encountered a harrowing and exploitative reality. Beyond Peace alleged that the young models, once drawn into Jeffries' operation, were forced to sign ironclad non-disclosure agreements. These documents, prosecutors argue, were used to intimidate and silence the victims, ensuring they wouldn't speak out even after their encounters ended. As the investigation deepens, unsettling connections between Diddy, influential enablers in the entertainment and fashion industries, and these alleged crimes are becoming increasingly difficult to overlook. Among the most disturbing claims is that aspiring models were coerced into consuming spiked alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants, a harrowing testament to the abuse of power that permeates these industries. These revelations don't exist in isolation. Court documents reveal striking similarities to tactics Diddy is alleged to have used with young artists seeking a break in the music industry. Online speculation has erupted, with theories suggesting Diddy might have even facilitated or participated in organizing these so-called freak-out parties for Jeffries and Smith. Adding to the gravity of the case, 15 male victims are reportedly ready to testify, with allegations that Jeffries funneled millions into maintaining these operations and ensuring they stayed hidden. Investigators suspect the scale of Jeffries' network could mean there are many more victims who have yet to come forward, casting a long shadow over the fashion and entertainment worlds. While Sean Diddy Combs remains detained without bail, Mike Jeffries has managed to secure his freedom with a $10 million bond.
What happens now is that Jeffries must remain here in New York City, Long Island, or the Southern District of Florida, where he has a home. He remains out on that $10 million bond. And it was actually Jeffries' attorney that during this hearing entered that plea of not guilty. Now, we do know he was joined in court by his wife and son. Now, all three defendants, including Jeffries, face those 16 federal criminal charges that...
Despite the difference in their current legal statuses, the parallels between the two cases are striking. Both men face civil and criminal charges tied to allegations of exploiting young individuals, though their spheres of influence differ. Diddy is accused of targeting young artists in the music industry, while Jeffries' alleged focus was aspiring models in the fashion world. Jeffries' case might have remained hidden if not for an in-depth BBC investigation that brought these allegations to light. One of the most pivotal accounts came from David Bradbury, a former model whose testimony has become central to the prosecution. Bradbury detailed how the middleman clearly outlined the cost of meeting the CEO, his dignity. It was like he was selling fame, Bradbury recounted, and the price was compliance. The meeting led Bradbury to Jeffries' mansion in the Hamptons, a place he later described as the setting for deeply troubling experiences. His story encouraged other victims to come forward, corroborating a chilling narrative. Among the new allegations are even more harrowing claims, such as victims being injected with liquid by Jeffries' staff. Just as the revelations about Diddy seem to expose the extent of exploitation in the entertainment world, the Jeffries case suggests that these dark practices run even deeper, linking powerful networks across fashion and entertainment that are only now being fully uncovered. The disturbing reality of powerful figures preying on vulnerable young talent extends far beyond Hollywood's glitz and glamour. The chilling allegations against Sean Diddy Combs, Mike Jeffries, and even Jeffrey Epstein reveal that the darker corners of pop culture and high society may be far more sinister than many dared to imagine. For years, whispers about underground exploitation, rings in industries like Hollywood and fashion, were dismissed as conspiracy theories. But with more victims coming forward and their accounts aligning, it's becoming increasingly difficult to ignore the troubling patterns that have persisted for decades. Now it's your turn. What do you think about these unsettling revelations? Could Diddy have provided evidence that helped implicate Jeffries? Or is it all coincidence? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear from you.